Hello and welcome to our Bible study of 2nd Book of Samuel, chapter 2. Now chapter 2 is a little bit of a longer one, so it goes over a page and a bit, so we're going to get right into it. Okay. And it came to pass after this that David inquired of the Lord, saying, "Shall I go up into any of the cities of Judah?" I love it when I see that he inquires of the Lord. It's a really good example for us. And the Lord said unto him, "Go up." And David said, "Whither shall I go up?" And he said, "Unto Hebron." So David went up thither, and his 2 wives also, Ahinoam the Jezreelitess, and Abigail Nabal's wife of the Carmelite. And his men that were with him did David bring up, every man with his household, and they dwelt in the cities of Hebron. And the men of Judah came, and there they anointed David king over the house of Judah. Yay! He was finally anointed king, and they told David, saying that the men of Jabesh Gilead were they that buried Saul. And David sent messengers unto the men of Jabesh Gilead, saying unto them, "Blessed be ye of the Lord, that ye have showed this kindness unto your Lord, even unto Saul, and buried him." Because these were the people that went and rescued the bodies of Saul and Jonathan and everyone who had been quite dishonoured really by the Philistines, and they saved the bodies and went and buried them. "And now the Lord show kindness and truth unto you, and I also will requite you this kindness, because you have done this thing. Therefore now let your hands be strengthened, and be ye valiant. For your master Saul is dead, and also the house of Judah have anointed me king over them." So at this point David had completed his mourning, set aside time to fast, to be in his grief, and it was time to look to the future and finally claim his throne of Israel. So after his grief, it was time for David to look ahead and claim his throne. Did what he should do and inquired of the Lord what his next move would be. So he was anointed king over Judah, but that's not king over all of Israel, not whole of Israel, just Judah at this point. And he promised to show the people who took care of the bodies kindness in return for what they did to Saul. Return the kindness. And he asked for their loyalty. To David as king. Okay. But Abner, the son of Ner, captain of Saul's host, took Ishbosheth, the son of Saul, and brought him over to Mahanaim, and made him king over Gilead, and over the Asherites, and over Jezreel, and over Ephraim, and over Benjamin, and over all Israel. Ishbosheth's son was 40 years old when he began to reign over Israel, and reigned 2 years, but the house of Judah followed David. And the time that David was king in Hebron over the house of Judah was 7 years and 6 months. So here we see there was a division now over the north and the south. Division over north and south. So Saul's other son, who apparently is the weak son, and his name Ishbosheth means man of shame. Man of shame, what a name. Oh, so that's his weaker son. His weak son became king over all of Israel. Instead of recognizing David's legitimate rule, we knew David was meant to be king, but still, that's what they say sometimes, that it does live on, the the effects of sin, you know, what Saul did and what kind of king he was. It's now, even though Saul is dead, it's not the end, it is continuing. And so Abner, the one who put Saul's son in charge, Abner was the real power behind the throne. So he was the one sort of controlling his son. So it's a really important note here, Abner. The one controlling the throne. And so he was basically rebelling over David. He was rebelling against him, which is probably going to end in some kind of conflict. Okay, and here we're going to read most of this part now. And Abner, the son of Ner, and the servants of Ishbosheth, the son of Saul, went out from Mahanaim to Gibeon. And Joab, the son of Zeruiah, and the servants of David went out and met together by the pool of Gibeon. And they sat down, the one on the side of the pool, and the other on the other side of the pool. And Abner said to Joab, "Let the young men now arise and play before us." And Joab said, "Let them arise." Then there arose and went over by number 12 of Benjamin, which pertained to Ishbosheth the son of Saul, and 12 of the servants of David. And they caught every one his fellow by the head, and thrust his sword in his fellow's side, so they fell down together. Oh goodness. Wherefore that place was called Helketh Hazarim, which is in Gibeon. And there was a very sore battle that day, and Abner was beaten, and the men of Israel before the servants of David. And there were 3 sons of Zeruiah there, Joab, Abishai, and Ashal, and Asahel. And Asahel was as light of foot as a wild roe. And Asahel pursued after Abner, and in going he turned not to the right hand nor to the left from following Abner. Really laser focused on him. Then Abner looked behind him and said, "Art thou Asahel?" And he answered, "I am." And Abner said to him, "Turn thee aside thy right hand or to thy left, and lay thee hold on one of the young men, and take thee his armour." But Asahel would not turn aside from following of him. And Abner said again to Asahel, "Turn thee aside from following me. Wherefore should I smite thee to the ground? How then should I hold up my face to Joab thy brother?" Howbeit he refused to turn aside. Wherefore Abner with the hinder end of the spear smote him under the 5th rib, that the spear came out behind him, and he fell down there and died in the same place. And it came to pass that as many as came to the place where Asahel fell down and died stood still. So we're now seeing the conflict between the north and the south here. And the conflict started in a very similar way as we read in 1 Samuel. Just as David and Goliath had fought as representatives of their armies between the Israelites and the Philistines, Abner suggested a similar contest to Joab's counterpart of the commander of David's army. So the war began in a similar way to 1 Samuel with David and Goliath. But the contest ended in a tie. So the contest So a fierce battle broke out. And Abner, as we saw here, was just being hunted down by Asahel. Asahel was Joab's brother. So he was just hunting Abner down. He would not give up. He tried to make him move and he wouldn't. He was laser focused until unfortunately Abner killed him. We're going to go right to the end now. Joab also and Abishai pursued after Abner, and the sun went down where they were come to the hill of Ammah, that lieth before Giah by the way of the wilderness of Gibeon. And the children of Benjamin gathered themselves together after Abner, and became one troop, and stood on the top of a hill. Then Abner called to Joab and said, Shall the sword devour forever? Knowest thou not that it will be bitterness for the latter end? How long shall it be then, ere thou bid the people return from following their brethren? And Joab said, As God liveth, unless thou hadst spoken, surely then in the morning the people had gone up, every one from following his brother. So Joab blew a trumpet, and all the people stood still, and pursued after Israel no more. Neither fought they any more. Finally, and Abner and his men walked all that night through the plain, and passed over Jordan, and went through all Bithron, and they came to Mahanaim. And Joab returned from following Abner, and when he had gathered all the people together, there lacked of David's servants 19 men and Asahel. But the servants of David had smitten of Benjamin and of Abner's men, so that 360 men died. And they took up Asahel and buried him in the sepulchre of his father, which was in Bethlehem. And Joab and his men went all night, and they came to Hebron at the break of day. So Joab and Abishai, his other brother, so Abishai, so this is Joab's other brother, his other bro. Joab and Abishai took up the pursuit until Abner's army rallied around him. Abner persuaded Joab to stop on the grounds that it would only lead to further bloodshed between brothers. So he begged him here, he said, look, this bit here, all that's going to happen is we're just going to end up killing each other. So Abner persuaded them to stop. They were getting revenge for their brother who Abner had killed. And he said, look, we're all just going to end up killing each other. So Joab called off the chase. And Abner and his army returned to their headquarters in Mahanaim. So Joab, let's put it over here. Joab called off chase, and Abner and everyone else went back. To their base. Everyone was counting their losses, so Joab and David's army counted a total of 20 men. David and Joab counted a loss of 20 men, but had inflicted 18 times worse casualties on Abner's army. So they took Asahel's body, their brother, and buried it in his hometown of Bethlehem. Buried Asahel in Bethlehem. But Joab did not forget what Abner had done to his brother, and he was waiting for the right opportunity to get revenge. Joab did not forget what he did. Okay, right, that's all of chapter 2. That was a very intense chapter. Lots of war and fighting. What a way to start kingship, David, it turns out. Okay, so join me tomorrow for chapter 3. It's another quite a long one. So we'll see how things pan out there. If you've got any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section, as well as your own takeaways. If you think I've missed anything or you want to add some points, please do let me know. And I will speak to you tomorrow. Bye!